What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 8 of the Hallway Podcast. Me and Chris talk about decisiveness, the influence that Joe Rogan has on us in the United States and possibly around the world, and the way that humans are potentially viruses, and much, much more. Hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks again for walking with us. All right, episode 8. 8 is great.
8 is great. 8 is great.
How great is the number 8? You know, they did a study, I think it was, so I used to sell handbags when it was like my second job, and it was when I graduated high school, I was in college, whatever. And the way that they strategically priced their items, they would end things in the number 8 in order to make them sound more expensive than they are. So there was like some sort of marketing study that was done where it was like if something was, you know, $59 or if something was $58, the 58 sounds more like prestigious or expensive or something like that. Yeah, so they strategically priced all their items to end in the number 8. Because usually, think about that, because when you buy things, it's like, okay, something is $5.99, something is $8.99, yeah. You know, $199.99, whatever. So it's like it doesn't hit that threshold. So it's like, okay, it's below this price. It's under $200 or whatever it may be. But the 8 kind of like tricks your brain into thinking like, oh, whoa, like 8 sounds more than
we are.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. No, because I do this thing where like, oh, it's $99.99. Like, it's not, you know, whatever. We're not there yet. So it's cool. We're fine. It's cheap enough. When it's really not, it's, you know, throw the extra $1 on there and get out of here.
Dude, I always round up.
8 is interesting.
Yeah, 8. It is interesting. When I first heard that, I was like, okay, but why is everything marked as the number 8? But it's a marketing ploy. So
maybe it's like I don't know. People might have an association with like even numbers or something like that, and easier to compute.
There's definitely association with even numbers. I see so many memes where you're turning on the TV or like you're changing like the like the volume. And if you get the volume at like, you know, a 10 or like a 5 or, you know, like a 6 or an 8, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, it's perfect.
Yeah. People like even numbers, you know.
Why do we like even numbers?
I think it's because we're like low-key hardwired to like have everything symmetrical. And even numbers, you know, you can pair off easily, cleanly. You know, there's no like outliers. You ever had like, I don't know, a few things on your desk and you have 3 of them and they're not like equally spaced, or you'll have like 3 and you really want 4 so that it can like match up perfectly. I think like that majority of people don't want the chaos of having like 2 that are perfectly aligned and then 1 that's just like way out there, you know.
I think that goes down to evolutionary biology. Like, think about when you look at someone, like you think about beauty, right? And you think about, what makes someone handsome or what makes someone beautiful? And yes, you can say there's a lot of different attributes to it, but taking more of a, you know, quote unquote superficial stance toward it, right? I think that if someone's face is symmetrical, right? It usually leads towards, or at least what I've read and what I've seen, it's like, okay, they're healthy, like they have good genes. You know, you know, things like that.
Things are lining up. So you don't have like, you know, lazy eye or something. No, it's all the same, you know, across the board.
Because people like symmetry. Yeah, it's true. And what is it? I think it was like the Roman architecture, the way that they did everything was like symmetrical to a certain degree. There's this thing called like the golden ratio, where it's the width to the height. And it's like 1.7 or something like that. It's like 1.7 width and then 1 to the height, and that's the way that they would design like the architecture and the columns and stuff. That's pretty interesting to think about, you know, humans and like how we view things and what makes us, you know, what makes something beautiful and not.
Things that we want to see, you know. And that's the thing too. We also have to break the society a little bit, because there's a thing where sometimes it's not you that likes it this way, it's society that has made you like that way. So those few people, there are people that like those 2 things that sit on the desk here perfectly spaced, and then the one just like wildly out.
Well, hold
in the
on.
middle of
That's
nowhere.
interesting. So what do you think society has? So for you, are there any instances where society has shaped your viewpoint on certain things, or like let's say beauty, for instance? So like, do you feel like society has shaped what you view as like beautiful, maybe architecturally, with humans, stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm here renovating my bathroom, right? And I'm looking at putting in a niche or a niche, whatever, people call it these days. And the niche, my dad was telling me, he's like, yeah, we could really put that over here to the side and just kind of, box it off to the left-hand side or the right-hand side. And I was like, but then there's not another one on the left, It doesn't look right. It doesn't look right. And he's just like, but it'll work, it'll function. I'm like, yeah, it'll function, but it's not pretty.
Yes, aesthetics.
It's not like, it's not clean and like, it's not an even number. No. So I was like, all right, if we're going to do that, then we're going to do one that's perfectly centered in the middle with perfect symmetry, perfect distance from this wall, perfect distance from that wall. And that's kind of like, I want it like that because I've seen it a million times in that same clean scenario, and someone else has told me that looks good, so I also believe that looks good.
Yeah.
So
like the validation from others, like when you get external validation from others saying that like, yes, this is the way that it should look, that starts to alter your perception on what potentially is beautiful and not.
Yeah, especially if it's more than one person too. That's the thing. Like, if you're not the only one that thinks this way, and there's 50 other people telling you, hey, the world is flat. All right, there's 50 people telling me the world is flat, and I'm the only one that thinks otherwise. Maybe the world's flat.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess the question is, when do you, which I think it's so hard, when do you challenge society? Because I definitely think that there are instances where society's wrong, and it's better to go against the grain. Right.
I think you should listen to everything society has, but then, draw the conclusion for yourself. But, like, with the niche thing, like, I've seen some now that, like, okay, in the corner's not bad. It's not bad. I understand it's not bad. It looks okay.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I also want this. But I understand that this is a thing that other people also do, and it works fine. It looks great. It's a utility thing, right? Everything's good. But like, there was the moment of challenge. Someone threw me an offer to challenge. I was like, no. I took it under advisement and said, nah.
Yep. And that's okay. I think it's important just generally to consider others' opinions prior to making a decision. But I think we talked about this before. Think about who's giving their opinion and whether that opinion is worth being taken into consideration, right? If you're just talking to some bum on the street, we've talked about this before, are you really, should you really take life advice from this bum, right? Like, okay, where has this person's decisions brought them? And I think it comes from a book, The Richest Man in Babylon. It's one of those like financial books, and the 10 Commandments of the richest man on Babylon. But one of the things that he says is, don't ask a bricklayer to make you shields, right? So this was taking place back in like 500 AD or something, where things like that. But he's saying how if hire someone based on their specialty. So it's like, if you want someone's opinion, like as an example, your aesthetic design, right? Yeah, you can talk to your dad. Yeah, you can talk to yourself. Or maybe, right, I mean, obviously you don't have to farm this out, but just for the sake of argument, right, you talk to an interior designer and you're like, okay, well, how would this look, right?
Exactly.
What's your experience? Because that's what they do all day long, right? So it's...
That's what I'm thinking. So I'm doing a design right now for my kitchen, and I'm thinking about ways that it could flesh out. I think I shared some of that with you earlier. And I have a perspective of what I think would be great and modern and like hip, and then I've heard other perspectives that are like, really, what you're thinking might not be as hip or cool, so we should probably, leave that alone. But I was like, okay, I have an opinion, you have an opinion, maybe we need a third opinion or an expert opinion, and then take that expert and then take that under advisement again, because, hey, we don't know where they might land.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
But then ultimately, take that information and then make the decision that you feel more comfortable with, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's it's my decision.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Man, I got the second dose of the COVID vaccine on
Ooh.
Thursday.
The Pfizer.
No, I got Moderna.
No?
I got Moderna.
Moderna.
Yeah.
They're back in play?
Yes. I mean, I got mine like 4 weeks ago, the first one, and then I got the second one, and I kind of felt like shit. So those people that are, actually getting vaccinated and that second dose, I felt like shit for a couple of days, but now I'm feeling better. But Pfizer just got FDA approved.
Yeah.
Did you hear about
I did
that?
see that.
Yeah.
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 Yikes.
Why do you say that? Why do you say yikes? Why do you say that?
So I was sitting yesterday.
Here come the conspiracy theories, right? All right, here we go.
Yesterday I watched Joe Rogan was in Orlando at the Amway.
That's right. Did you go?
Yeah. So I went.
How
I
was
went
he?
for a short period. He was Joe Rogan, man.
Yeah.
He was himself, to say
Yeah.
the least. I mean, the crowd that he brought on was very interesting. And here's how I know, right? So I roll up to the Geico garage to go park the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm coming in, and the lady is there. She's like, "Are you here to see Cat Williams, or are you here to see Joe Rogan?" And I'm just like, "Cat Williams is at the Amway? Why did I buy Joe Rogan tickets?" And she's like, yeah, and everybody went to the wrong Amway. Apparently, the old Amway is having Cat Williams, and the same night that Joe Rogan is there at the new Amway. I'm just like,
what is going on?
yeah. Why did no one advertise?
Why are there
this?
two Amways? What?
yeah, it's the old Amway and the new
Yeah,
Amway. But
yeah.
I was just like, dang, I really wish I would have got Cat Williams tickets.
Yeah. But anyways, you were
I
there,
think-
right?
Yeah, I was there. And everyone asked me the same question. I think they were just asking everyone that was of a different, nationality. Like, hey,
yeah.
you sure you here to see Joe Rogan? You don't have a
To
cowboy
be like,
hat on.
is it because I'm black?
Yeah, I mean,
Are you asking me if I'm going to go to Cat Williams because I'm black? Is that what you're asking?
yeah, bro. No, for real. Because I walk in, not even walking in. I'm in the parking lot,
Yeah.
and there's nothing but big trucks, and I'm just like,
Really?
okay, Joe Rogan crowd.
Huh.
We're in a red state.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So then I'll roll in there, and one of the openers, I forget the guy's name, but he was hilarious. But his jokes were like, if there were red state jokes, if it was like an art form, he nailed it to
Really?
the T. I'm talking like we were riffing on Caitlyn Jenner, we were riffing on having transgender ESPN, so they have their own sports league. I'm telling you, it was hilarious though. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the crowd that he had,
That's true.
the
That's
crowd
true.
that he had,
Yeah.
and he's up there in a Catboy hat, and I'm just like, all right, yeah, you're kind of funny. You're kind of funny. I mean, sometimes you got to know when the culturally insensitive humor is on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, where was I going with this?
Yeah, you were going to tell me about Joe Rogan and how he was, and then we were actually talking about the vaccine as well.
Yeah. So apparently, a little while ago, Joe Rogan mentioned something about the vaccine and how it was bad, or just basically not endorsing it, right?
Wow.
And then he got the attention of the Prince Harry, and Prince Harry was commenting back to Joe Rogan on CNN, and he was mentioning, he's like, yeah, man, I'm just like a comedian, I got the attention of a prince? What? And he was just astounded. He's like, yeah, I woke up one morning and I turned on CNN and there's the prince talking about me. I'm just like, that is crazy though. That's your average guy.
The influence though,
Yeah.
I think he plays that off, but if you think about the type of influence, he's literally the number one podcast in the United States. He's the number one podcast in the United States. To say that the type of influence that you have, don't get me wrong, he's comedian, he's funny, he just says his opinion, but a lot of people listen to his podcast and listen to him, and a lot of people like it's almost like a small cult following that
Yeah.
he has, and like people love his podcast and like the things that he says. And don't get me wrong, I've listened to his podcast, and I think that there's a lot of great, like he brings on a lot of cool people. I think sometimes it's hit or miss, to be honest, and it's 3 hours, so it's kind of long, but
Oof.
I mean, but for someone like him, so my point is, for someone like him to not endorse the vaccine and to say like, hey, like I don't believe in it or whatever, that kind of like creates a ripple effect. You know, that can be taken in many different ways. So,
and there's always those few people that don't understand jokes from like, you know, hey man, I was cracking a joke versus, hey, yeah, this is how I really feel.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be how he really feels, but you know, a grain of salt with everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess I'd like to ask your opinion though. So like, what do you think? Like, so have you gotten the vaccine?
I have not. I am unvaccinated.
And what is your reasoning behind being unvaccinated?
So, you know, when the first round hit, I was just waiting for everybody's superpowers to kick in, and then
X-Men.
I was gonna figure out. Yeah, exactly. Right. I wanted to see like, does Moderna give you like claws, or does it the Pfizer? You know.
Which one do I gotta get?
Yeah. Round two.
I'm after super strength here. Which one's gonna give me the
super strength, flying? Can I combine them?
Yeah.
Like, is it a build a superhero situation? What are we working with? You know. So I hung back. I was, you know, I have some like not so good interactions with like the healthcare system and my health personally over time. I mean, it's been a while. I'm a healthy guy now, but you know, I've had some struggles, so I was like, I'll just leave that alone and see what happens. And they say the young might be all right, you know. So I did contract COVID, you know, for a period, and I did my stint. I stayed home, did the whole shebang, and I thought I made it through. Everything's good. I didn't spread it. Everyone was good. And I think that right there for the unvaccinated is the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
I think the problem lies with people that are unvaccinated, contract COVID, and then spread COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are vaccinated, you're young, and you live through it, and you do what you're supposed to do and stay at home, I think you're probably not too bad, you know? So do your part, stay home. If you get COVID, but getting the vaccine, I didn't feel
I
the
think
need
I
for
think
myself.
what you said earlier though is an interesting point. So you said that you don't really trust the healthcare system.
Yeah, well, I've had some issues with, you know, just
Particular doctors or
particularly doctors, different kinds of medicines, and interacting with my body in particular. And you know, I was uneasy about it. I heard some people had some struggles, so I was like, I'll wait it out a little bit, you know. I'll wait it out. I'll be all right. And then it got to a point where, okay, getting the vaccine doesn't protect you from Delta variant. So I was like, well, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand getting it for travel purposes, or if you're at risk and need something to lessen the blow if you do contract it. But for me, myself, I think I will be all right. So, And I think I will take the necessary precautions to keep myself and others safe if I do contract it.
Yeah.
As I did the first time, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was the same situation when I contracted it. It was, you know, I took the time away, you know, I quarantined, I did all that stuff. And I mean, one of the reasons why I got it is because potentially for traveling, it's like, hey, you know, in other countries, you need it. You need to have it. In Europe, it's one of those things that you need to be vaccinated. And they're just like, hey, you need to be vaccinated. So if I decide to do that, right, I want to just get it done so that way it's not like a hassle worrying about it.
Yeah.
You know? But to be honest, I mean, I'm always honest, right? But I was feeling the same way that you were feeling prior to being vaccinated. So I didn't get vaccinated because I was like, okay, I already had it. I'm healthy, right? I'm young. I don't feel the need to. But to be frank, man, it's, at least here in the United States, it's so easy to get it. Like, that it's almost like after I did it, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like,
Why was I holding out?
Yeah, it's like it was one of those
Yeah.
things. It was just like a minor thing. Oh no, I have to drive to my local grocery store to like sit there
Yeah.
for 15 minutes for them to give it to me, and then I literally
Yeah.
walk out. You know, it's it
Yeah,
wasn't that
it's
big
not
of
an
a deal.
accessibility
Yeah,
issue. Yeah,
it wasn't
yeah.
that big of a deal. You know. So now it's interesting to hear the reasons why people choose not to. And so, I mean, maybe going back to it, how do you feel about the FDA approval? Does the FDA approval, like, do you think that makes you feel more confident about getting it? Or, so how does that impact your opinion on the vaccine?
So I think for many people, the FDA approval will be a point for them to like, hey, okay, we're good, we're all right.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving, right? But hey, man, FDA approved cigarettes still, so
What? You're lying. You're lying.
You know, so like, yeah,
Are you lying?
I don't know.
No.
So if you look into certain things like peanut butter,
Uh-huh.
peanut butter is FDA approved to have like, what is it, 1.25% rat hair inside peanut butter. There's a safety margin, and within that margin, they allow rat hair in peanut butter.
Yeah, I've heard stuff like that before, but I
You
think
know?
it's like, is any process perfect? I don't know. Is any process
Yeah,
perfect?
no.
Like, because
No,
imagine
never.
what the cost. And I know this is crazy, and it's you think about that, it's like, oh my god, rat hair. But
Yeah.
imagine what the cost would be to your peanut butter if they had to have 0% or like 0% of everything, right? Because the
yeah.
likelihood of that happening. Think about where peanut butter. You know, I'm taking a very I would say a
Yeah.
very practical look at it. But if you think about where our foods are created and like what these facilities look like, yeah, I know everything looks very pretty in the packaging, but these facilities aren't always like, you know, everything isn't scrubbed
Yeah.
with bleach, you know, 24/7, right? It's you
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
our body,
Agreed.
you know, it's
We can handle.
yeah, man, we can handle it. It's like,
They're like slowly adding 1% each year to build our tolerance.
yeah, exactly. Dude, I swear, that's what I'm gonna do with my kids. Like everyone, you know, people are like, "Oh man, like clean the house," and the kids can't run around like barefoot outside and like all this stuff. It's like, no, man, get your kid out there, let them eat some dirt, let them get sick, like,
Yeah.
because that's how, you know, your
how you build.
immune system. Yeah, your immune system is
Yeah.
literally like a muscle. Like if you exercise your muscle will be strong. If you don't utilize that muscle, your muscle won't be strong. So yeah, you can keep your kid in a completely sanitized house, and yeah, in theory, you'll keep them safe, but in the long
Yeah.
run, you won't.
Yeah.
You actually damage them. Like you're
Yeah.
literally damaging them. Like it's crazy.
They're gonna go outside.
Yeah.
And there are germs outside, you know? And the thing with like go run around barefoot, it's the same situation. Like your feet build calluses for a reason, you know? We adapt on purpose.
Oh yeah, big time.
Not for no reason. Well, sometimes for no reason, but we adapt on purpose, you know?
No,
Yeah.
for sure. I think the human body is a lot more resilient than we think. I just think that we are so used to being so comfortable and not having to, like, we tailor the world to our needs. Like we change the world in order for us to be comfortable. We're not changing our habits in order to make ourselves comfortable within this existing world. And I think that's where humans are like, dude, it's like humans are like a freaking
Trash.
virus, bro. Humans are trash. Dude, we are fucking trash.
Yeah,
We're
we
terrible.
We are.
We are.
That's because, dude, we've reached this piece of society where we want to control everything, and we think we have the control. We can engineer it, right?
Yeah. They did a study and they looked at like different levels of civilization. So as civilizations start to evolve, the primary, like the one thing that increases over everything is the amount of energy that's consumed. So think about this. As we start to become a more advanced society, we create tools, we create machines, we do this. We start to essentially just use more energy. And that, like, think about sci-fi video games, right? Or sci-fi movies. Think about this. Huge advanced civilizations with massive spaceships that are traveling across like the galaxy. How much energy is that using? And, like, think about that. Like that's great. Like that's crazy. You know,
It's not free.
No, it's not. And where do we get that energy? Where do we get, you know, all those things? But what I want to say is the human race is kind of like a virus. Like think about this. What viruses do is viruses, go onto a host and they spread, like they basically inject themselves into a body, like a cell, and they recreate themselves and they utilize the resources within that cell just to reproduce and to damage it and destroy it, and then they shoot on to other cells. And that's exactly what we're doing, not only with Earth, but now we're pushing to get to space, to gather more minerals, go into the solar system, and it's like, if we eventually achieve that, like, we're gonna wipe out the universe,
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, will we wipe out the universe? Probably not, because the universe is crazy.
I mean, in a few billion years, maybe, but
I guess the question is, do you think the universe will even survive that long?
I mean, is there a clock on it? Is there, that we know of, Is there something that is coming that is going to cause an extinction level of event for the whole universe? Is there another Big Bang? Is there a Big Bang Part 2? Like, I don't know if there's any, like, is there any impending danger?
So I watched this video. Those that are kind of nerdy and like, like stuff like this, there's this YouTube channel called In a Nutshell, and it's called Kurzgesagt. I think it's a German word, but it basically means in a nutshell. And one of the things that they talked about was the actual achievable like, if we were able to explore the universe, how far would we actually get, like, in terms of the universe?
In a lifespan?
Yeah, well, not in a lifespan, but just generally, like, literally in all of human capacity. So think about the universe itself. The universe is constantly expanding, right? At what rate is it expanding? So it's expanding at whatever rate it is. I'm not quite sure, but the video actually goes into really good depth. But long story short, what they did is they said, okay, the universe expands at this rate. Even if we were able to travel at the speed of light and the time that it would take for us to, like, inhabit planets and, like, do everything that we would need to do in order to, like, colonize and move forward, we would only get to maybe like 3% of the entire universe in our entire, like, that's all we'd be able to achieve, because the distance that's constantly moving, and for us to be able to, like, colonize planets, move at the speed of light and everything, it's like, in theory, life is meaningless. Nobody it's over, man. It's over.
To round it back.
No, it's insane. It's super interesting though to think about, like, I don't know.
It makes sense, though. I mean, the expansion of the universe, but, like, how and when does it all end? I mean, we've seen no evidence of anything that could finish the universe thus far. I mean, we know that we've got evidence of us destroying our planet and saying the planet may be no longer existent or underwater in X amount of years based off of this projection. But, like, in terms of the universe, we haven't really gotten a global picture of how long
universal.
It will be there. Or universal, I want to say global. We haven't really got a universal picture of when this will end, or how it will end, or if it will end.
Yeah.
So,
I guess the question is itself, though, like, will the human race even be around to see it? Like, not even the human race, but will we? Yeah, I mean the human race, right? Because we're the most advanced on our planet. But will we even be around to see it? And that's where I think it's, like, the question. And I think that the question is, I mean, to answer the question, probably no. I don't think that we're going to be around to see the end of the universe. And it's kind of scary to think about that. Yeah. And that's why I think, don't get me wrong, like, pushing to the stars is very important. But I also think that, like, reflecting and saying, like, hey, we have a really cool planet that suits us perfectly that we're on right now. So I think, like, taking care of our planet should be, number one priority. I think number one should be taking care of the planet, and then number two should be exploring space. And then I think, once we do that, then, I mean, we'd be able to achieve a lot.
That's the thing, though. So we have exploring and building beyond, but I think a lot of our issues are stemming from just human things, like the United States wants to capture the moon. Russia wants to capture the moon. Well, the United States wants to kind of go green, but Russia doesn't want to go green. But we want to go nuclear. But, I think we fight each other a lot on some of these global issues. and that'll kind of push us away from having a joint agenda, you know?
We're getting in our own way.
Yeah, yeah.
Humans literally get in our own way. That's
yeah. We have global tasks that we need to accomplish, and like kind of everyone knows it, right? We need to save the earth, save all the kids, green energy, and then we need to explore and innovate, right? Those are tasks that everyone probably agrees with. But the amount of blockers in between all of those globally is just like, you know.
It's ridiculous, man. There was a whole thing that happened in Paris a few years ago. It was the Clean Energy Summit. I think that's what it was called. And all of the countries, that are part of the United Nations, I believe, got together and they said, hey, we want to take on this pledge, which I think was by 2030, or it was something like that. We want to have, X amount of emissions or whatever the goal was, but it was a significant goal. But I think it was more of, which is unfortunate, because what they're talking about now is that when you reflect on what they discussed there versus what progress has been made, very minimal progress has been made, right? It's more of like, hey, Chris, I'll tell you that I'll pay you back $5, right? And then it's like, but if I don't pay you back the $5, or there's no written document, or there's no anything that says hey, if you don't do this, you have to pay this, or whatever it is, then it's
no repercussions.
There's no repercussions.
And that's the thing. It's like, what do? Do you try to say, hey, if you don't go 50% green by 2025, we're gonna go bomb your nation.
Yeah.
And who's doing the bombing? Who's paying for these bombs? And
these bombs are gonna add even more carbon emissions. So it's
exactly.
Yeah,
and we're back again. Yeah.
We're back
so
again
I don't know.
Spot.
Trying to I'd say trying to build a system of punishment off of it is rough. But what we've been doing, at least here in the U.S., is we've been trying to incentivize it at a lower level for individuals. We're trying to incentivize for businesses. That way we can push you there instead of slap you back if you don't do it.
Yeah. I think the true way, if they really want to change things, is to make laws. I think that's the only way. It's like, if you want to do business in our country, or you want to do this, you need to abide by this law. Right. So think about the amount of money that the United States generates, and the amount of businesses that come here for whatever reason. In addition to the market share that, if you're looking at a global audience, China. So China's a huge market, right? So a lot of companies are trying to push to get into China. If the leaders of these countries say, hey, in order for you to do business in here, right? So as an example, let's say a grocery store, right? If you want to open a grocery store in the United States, you can't have any plastic bags. You can't you're not allowed to give plastic bags. They're not for free, or if you are to give plastic bags, there's going to be a tax that's added. So
California.
Yeah, exactly. So there's these little things that I think you can do in order to push businesses and ultimately push consumers in the right direction. And I think that's what needs to happen. In addition to personal choice, right? I mean, I think that it's everyone. But I think it starts, because I don't think you should give the consumer the choice, right? Yes, we can do little things in order to minimize my lifestyle. Yes, I can make sure my lights are shut off. Yes, I can make sure when I leave the house my AC is higher. Yes, I can make sure that I'm doing everything that I need to do personally to keep everything on the minimum. But for every but if you think about this in the United States, for every person that there is, like me, let's say, who I try to make sure my energy costs are minimum. I try to not throw away too many things. I mean, obviously I throw my fair share. I just try to not do it as much. I try to take minute showers that are a minute or two faster, things like that. For every one person,
little things.
For every one person that is aware and that are doing these things, there's at least 10 people who don't give a shit.
Yep. They're just living like that because they were not taught otherwise, and they only have the opportunity or the chance to do the way that they've been taught, or they have the options. They have the 50 options, but the way that they've been doing it is the way they're going to keep doing it. Yeah. So
it almost becomes a reflection, right? Like, you need to reflect and say, okay, well, what are the little things that I can change to help? Right?
And that's where we are now. So now we have it's on you to make the difference. I mean, we'll empower you by trying to educate you on how to do better, but beyond that, it's up to you. But recently there was Chinese solar panels that were being produced by child labor in China, and they were being shipped here to the U.S. in mass. And I think it was like a week ago that they actually stopped accepting those shipments because they understood the source. So I think that was a big power play for the government to say, no. We don't want to associate with child labor. We have laws against that here. So by accepting your foreign product that was produced illegally to us, like,
You vote with
we
your
can't
dollar.
do that.
You vote with your dollar.
Yeah.
That's what
It's
comes
very
down to.
interesting, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. But again, I just think it's up to, like, don't get me wrong, it's up to us, and I think we make these personal choices. But I think it's also up to institutions and governments really to force these businesses into making different decisions, right? It's
Yeah. I think the initial approach should be incentives. And then if the incentives aren't heard or we're not meeting our target based off the incentives, then we need to begin to create policy.
yeah.
But I think we need to start with giving the choice, We give the choice, see how it plays out. If we're on target to reach our goal, okay, we'll just keep rolling with that. But if we're not, then we can start hitting with the hard-hitting policies, because these policies, they will start to, like, it's going to be a load on the consumers, on the business owners. It's going to be an extra thing that they have to do, But like, if you do an incentive program, they want to do it because they're incentivized to do it. So it kind of makes them feel a little better about it, and you get your goal accomplished. I believe incentivizing people to do things is a lot more effective in most cases than forcing them to do it, or saying you must do it.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I think in incentivization, so like positive reinforcement. But then there comes at the end of the day, it's like, okay, if you think about raising your child, if he keeps acting up, sometimes he needs a little smack in the mouth. I mean,
true. You're right.
Hey.
You're right. 1, 2, hey, calm down, son.
Or I'll
Been
make
there,
you calm
been there.
down. All right.
Hey, I took a few in my day.
That's right. Do you? So you think hitting children is okay? Like hitting your own child?
Hell yeah, it's your kid, man. I grew up that way, and I didn't grow up so bad.
Yeah.
I hear plenty of other people say otherwise, but I don't know. It has to come from a sense of love. It can't be I'm an upset parent, so I'm gonna whoop your ass.
Yeah.
It has to be you did something bad, and I'm letting you understand that this is your punishment for doing that. I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy I have to whoop your ass, but I have to whoop your ass.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how my parents came across it. So, like, I was okay with that. I mean, not okay at the time, obviously. But, it hurt my soul. It did.
Going back to your like past self, like when you're, I don't know, when you're like 8 or 9, like, hey man, like it's your older self, like looking at yourself crying, like, bro, you deserved it. Sorry.
You messed up, bro. That's on you. That's on you, dog.
No, I agree. I don't think that. I think that if it's called for, then it's okay. Like, and obviously every situation is different. I think that if you can handle a situation through words, I think that you should try to do that.
Yeah.
But if it comes to a point where you need to do something physically, then do that. I think you just need to be mindful of, like you were saying, right? It's not just you're an angry parent. It's your
and they have to understand it too. You have to communicate that to them.
Yeah.
Or else it may just seem like, oh, he's just an angry parent, I mean, I messed up. I did something to upset you, obviously, because I did something I wasn't supposed to do. But you need to clarify that I'm not hitting you because I'm mad. I'm hitting you because you did something bad, and you need to understand the consequences.
Yep. And do you think this same rationale translates to pets?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so. Yeah, like, hey, you've been bad. No, you need. I think a big part of like training animals. I don't own any animals myself, or like have any probably useful information on them. But I would say that.
But my opinion is.
But my opinion. If I had an animal that I had to train, I would train them so that they understand when they do something wrong, there is a negative reaction. You understand that by knocking over this plant, you inflict pain on me, so I must inflict pain on you so you understand what you've done.
Oof.
Yeah. And you'll never do it again because by doing this, you will get that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're trying to do. I mean, it's psychology, really. Like, hey, okay, the mouse trap. You have a mouse here. You hit this button, you get cheese. You hit this button, you get stunned.
Yeah.
You hit this button once. Okay, never again. I learned my lesson. No,
that's
now
true.
It's repetitive. If it's repetitive, if like your kid is acting out severely and you're just giving ass whooping after ass whooping after ass whooping, then like, all right, we got to try something else.
Yeah. Because either I'm not hitting hard enough or this kid doesn't understand, right?
Yeah, exactly. But some kids are like that. I used to get my ass beat a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
A lot. I was not a good kid. I was not.
Really?
For a while. Yeah.
Why? Like, why were you? Like, what do you mean you weren't a good kid? Like, what does that mean?
I had bad grades. I was messing around with the wrong like kids. I was doing all kinds of things I shouldn't have been doing. I was like sneaky about stuff. I was just doing shit I wasn't supposed to be doing as a kid. Yeah. And hey, I got my ass beat for it. But
Happens.
Yeah, it happens.
Did you still do it? Did you still do it after it? Well, they weren't hit hard enough, I guess.
There's one of two things that happen. It's either I got smart enough to not do it, or I got smart enough to do it smarter. Yeah, and that's what happens, Yeah, you figure it out.
Yeah.
It depends on what it is, what you want. Why am I so motivated to do this bad action, right?
Yeah. I guess it's like when I think when I was a kid, I was never like a bad kid. I never did things like to be bad, Like I never was like, oh, I'm gonna, put a lizard down this kid's pants or like I'm never gonna, I was never that type of kid like where I was like trying to, like I was never trying to be malicious or mischievous or I was never trying to do those things. It was more of like the things that I just did sometimes would happen to be perceived that way, even though I might have just been like a regular kid just doing regular things. Like as an example, when I was in like pre-K, it was when we were living in Miami, and I went to this pre-K thing where it was kind of like daycare, but it was also pre-K, right? Like your parents would drop you off, pick you up in the morning. And we had like this big area where we would all play, and there was like an old boat there that they had, like nice little swing set, like, and it was massive. Okay. And it might have been massive just because I was like 3 feet tall, so maybe it seemed more big than what it was. But
true.
But it felt like an acre of land that they just let the kids run. That's how it felt, right? That's how it felt when I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was 3 years old, or whatever.
Quarter acre.
Yeah. No, like, dude, it felt massive.
Yeah.
But I remember there was this big tree in the middle, huge tree, like really nice, like oak tree. Like you could, you would have. I don't even think you'd be able to wrap your arms around it. So it was huge. And I remember there was these two twins that I would hang out with. Like there were these two little blonde kids, and we, I would hang out with them, run around. We'd be playing Power Rangers and all this stuff. Yeah. And then I remember telling them like, or we were talking about it, and we were like, oh, we have to use the bathroom. And they were like, oh yeah, we can just pee on the tree.
On the tree.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then they go, they pee on the tree, and they pee on the tree. I watch them pee on the tree. I'm like, okay, cool. So I freaking whip out my ding dong. I go, and literally as soon as I do it, I let it run. The teacher, like, and if you think about, dude, this huge tree's in the middle of this acre, and these kids are over here peeing on it, and the teacher sees me, and I'm the one that gets in trouble. Like, Jakob, like, you should have told us, like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, like, they peed. And, of course, they didn't believe me because I was the only one that was peeing. So I'm the one that got in trouble. It's ridiculous.
Got
man.
caught red-handed.
Yeah, because it can seem like, but then again, when you're 3, it's not like you're,
Yeah,
okay,
nah,
dude, kid
yeah,
pees on the
yeah,
tree.
yeah.
That's, when do you think like kids actually start to think, in
Before
terms
they
of
act?
that? No, but what I mean is in terms of that malicious intent. So like, because that's interesting to think about. So I think children in general are innocent, right? Like,
Yeah.
because think about it, they have no like. Dude, they're just walking around like, looking at
picking
stuff.
up things
Yeah,
and doing whatever. Yeah.
So, and it's interesting. Like, it's almost like, when do you think that they start to think about like
positive and negative effects.
yeah, like,
and things like
not only
that.
positive and negative effects, but almost like in terms of like manipulation and like doing things just to see the reaction and like starting to behave potentially maliciously. I would say that type of stuff probably I mean, I'm not an expert, right? So don't quote me on it. But I feel like that happens around 4 to 5 years old. I feel like around 4 to 5 years old, they've seen enough, they've interacted with people, and they can start to like differentiate and potentially even start to like lie about things.
Yeah. So I definitely think the lying starts to come around like 4 or 5, like actually lying, knowingly lying. I think 4 or 5. But I do think that kids start to do things with malicious intent at like 2, maybe 3. Like they'll do like things to be sneaky, or like, what are you doing with that? You're not supposed to have that, but like they've only thought as far as, I'm picking it up and I know I'm not supposed to pick it up. That's it.
Yeah.
They haven't thought beyond that as to like, oh yeah, this is going to be bad. Mom's going to hate this. Yeah, but I'm going to keep doing it because that's why,
They're just like, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to do it, but it's fun, so I'm going to pick it up anyway, right?
Yeah. I think that's the 2, 3. I'm just, I'm going to be bad. Just kind of do it.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about it.
Impulsive.
It's just a thing. Impulsive. Because then you haven't really developed like the frontal lobe where you're fully building out scenarios, because that's what we do nowadays, right? As an adult, you'll think about something and you'll take the next 6 courses of action into account. Like,
I do X, then Y, then so like if I do X, then Y or XY is going to happen. So like, and then you start to almost build out this chain of reactions that would happen based on that X decision. Yeah.
And then some people even take it further. They look at the other like infinitely many possibilities stemming from step Y or step XY, and they'll say, oh, well, what if this person reacts this way, and then I have to take the conversation this way. And that kind of happens when you start to add people into that path, the decision path. So now you have like a bunch of different variables. Like, I think it might go this way, but it might go this way. And building those pathways based off of like things you do, kids don't innately have that at a very young age, because they can only think as far as like what's in front of them and what's for lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
primitive things.
I almost think that allows, if you think of it, that almost allows children. Yes, it's impulsive, and yes, they maybe don't. They maybe don't consider all the things that they should consider when they make decisions, but it does make them decisive.
Yeah.
Because they say like, okay, I pick this up or I don't pick this up, and they say, okay,
done.
I'm not going to pick it up because of this, but then they don't think,
done.
Or they say, okay, I picked it up, and then okay, let's see what happens. And I think that people in general, especially as we get older, that scenarios that think about how many times you've done that, and even our listeners, think about how many times you've and who knows, maybe you're an extremely decisive person, but maybe you've just brought something out where that breeds overthinking. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
So like then you overthink the decision, and then you're like looking back, and then it's like, okay, it's like, no, okay.
Yeah.
You have decision X, Y, and Z, weigh your options, and then decide and move forward. Like, go with your gut and just do it. Because then I think indecision is what inhibits people from like not only taking action, but like progressing in a lot of things.
Yes.
They just this indecision where they just can't make a decision because of the fear that it may be the wrong decision, right?
I completely agree. I have yesterday or last week, I was telling this girl, I was like, yeah, we're going to go on a date on Saturday. It's going to be great. And I was like, well, what do you want to do? Well, she's like, oh, you plan it out. Just you make the plans, you pick it out. It's like, surprise me. I was like,
Women don't want to
Okay, I
make,
get-
usually my experience,
Yeah.
women don't like to make a lot of decisions. So that's just
Yeah,
my
yeah.
experience.
so I was like, okay, I'll figure it out. This is like Wednesday, right? And then I'm just like, I'll work it out. I'll work it out. She's like, are you like an indecisive person? And my theory for myself is like, I'm indecisive until it gets down to the money. So I didn't make any plans until Saturday morning at like 5 a.m. I was in bed. I was like, all right, I need to figure this out. I sat down.
5 a.m. Dude, talk about
Yeah,
procrastination. God damn.
Exactly. If anything school has taught me is that you can get things done on the dime in the moment.
Yeah.
So literally, I did some light research a few days before, got a few general things, but then come Saturday morning, 5 a.m., I was like, all right, it's time to nail it down.
Mm-hmm.
I sit there and said, boom, 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 we're doing this, order tickets, order ticket for that, order ticket for that, this time, that time, boom, done. Case closed, now I'm chilling.
Agreed.
And I think, like, for me at least, my indecision will last until the deadline or until slightly before the deadline. So that's why I think putting deadlines on things for myself works really well, especially when it's like a deadline that will affect someone else or something else. So if the deadline is just for me, like, I don't know, Chris, you have to wash your car. I don't have to wash my car.
So what my thing about decisions is like, I like to put the amount of thought that I put in each decision that I make is dependent on the importance of the decision. So, what type of ice cream I'm going to get is really not an important type of decision. Where we're going to go to eat for me is not a very important decision. So for me, that means the amount of thought and effort I'm going to expend in my mind, the thought and effort that I have is limited. Day to day, it's very limited.
Yeah.
So for me to like expend, the amount of energy that I think some people do in making these decisions that are in the big scheme of things like irrelevant, like that's when I make effort. So as an example with my girlfriend, it's like she's very indecisive at times. Like there'll be where it's like, okay, we want ice cream. Okay, we go to, because it's a Saturday night or whatever, we had dinner, we want to have a dessert. Okay, cool. We go
Where are we going?
We go to the grocery store, right? No, but we go to the grocery store and it's like,
Okay.
we can either get, drumsticks, which are like those cones with the ice cream and they're covered in chocolate, or we can get like these ice cream sandwiches. And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, who cares, right? And this doesn't, literally this doesn't matter. And she's like, oh, but which one should we pick? And she's like, oh, but this one, this one, I mean, it could be good this way, but this one could be good this way. And we're sitting there,
Talk
dude,
it out.
and it's like, okay, but dude, we're there for 2 minutes. And I'm like, all right. I literally don't care. I want to expend zero effort.
Decision.
So, yeah, but I'm like, okay, look, this is how we're going to decide. Sometimes I do rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't feel like thinking about it. And I'm like, okay, let's let fate decide. So your drumsticks,
Roll it out.
I'm ice cream sandwiches, and then we're like boom, 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 and then okay, done, grab it. I grab it and then I start walking, and this is the thing that kind of annoys me sometimes. If you ask, and just generally, this is for listeners, man. If you ask someone to make a decision, if you are giving them the response,
The power.
the power, right? If you're giving them the decision, you're like, hey, you make the decision. Here you go. I don't have an opinion, or I give you my opinion on it, but you make the decision. And when you hand over that and they make the decision, don't go back and say, oh, but we should have did this. Like, don't do that, because that is annoying, right? Because then it's like, okay, why did you give me the power to make the decision?
So especially if it's something like that where you could go either way and you're uncertain and it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Much.
Yeah, it literally doesn't matter. Okay,
Yeah.
what's the biggest impact of picking one ice cream over the other? Like, okay, this ice cream sucked. Okay, I wish I would have had drumsticks. Okay, now we know next time we're gonna get drumsticks.
Next
That's
time.
it. Yeah.
Done. End the conversation. Yeah.
But then for me, it's like,
gosh.
okay, if you're thinking about, it's like, all right, I'm gonna get a raise, or I know that I'm gonna get promoted. Right, and I'm gonna have an extra, I don't know, just throwing a number out there, $500 coming in for a month. How am I gonna divvy this up? Okay, that's something that I'm gonna sit down. Okay, let's think about where's your current distribution of the extra income that you have. Are you meeting any of the contribution limits to any of the retirement accounts? Like, okay, where's your savings at? You know, what's your current savings rate? Like, okay, do you have any debt that we should pay? So these are the things.
Analysis.
Exactly. These are the things where I don't mind taking the time and the effort to decide on those things. Or it's like if you're looking at a real estate property, it's like, all right, you know, that's where you spend the time and the mental effort to execute that decision, right?
To think it out.
But if I'm constantly expending my effort to make these bullshit decisions, then I'm not going to have any effort left to make important decisions, right? So
it makes sense.
Yeah. So that's my thought process around decision making, and
you gotta efficiently use your time and your energy, and it makes sense because sometimes with those little things, they just kind of take up space in your head, and it's just like, why? No, just be done. Okay, you know, like it's a simple thing. Just roll forward with. I had the same discussion. Like, so I had to pick out a shower head, and I'm looking for the one that I want.
Thing. You're fucking dad already, bro. How old are you? 22, right? I had to pick out a shower head.
I mean, I'm trying to pick out something that's hip, something that's affordable, and something that like meets the needs of, you know, what I want and fits the space, fits the color tone. All of these attributes have to play together, right? So I can't just, all right, first one on Amazon that's on sale, you know? This thing, I have to sit down, break it out. I have to figure out the amount of money I have to spend. I have to figure out when I need it by, how fast can I get it, you know? Things like that. I have to put a little bit of effort into that. But during that time, I felt like I was so indecisive because I saw so many different things, but there were so many different like
options,
different
sizes,
options.
Colors.
Exactly. None of the factors all lined up together. So for me, it was like okay, I finished plumbing up the bathroom to this point. All right, I just need to get something now. So it was, okay, that morning, bang, 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 gonna get this one. All right, done. It's here. Finished.
You just gotta decide.
But for for smaller things, I like the thing you mentioned with the rock paper scissors. My buddy actually showed me this technique of making decisions. So you do the same thing. You assign values to an arbitrary thing. So say instead of your chocolate, I'm
5 years old, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we do 1 and 2. You have someone else with you. You say 1 or 2. You tell them the values, right? Say, Jacob, I can't choose between vanilla and strawberry. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean vanilla, right? Strawberry's trash, but that's fine.
Anyway, get out of here. Now you will call vanilla 1 and call strawberry 2, but you won't tell me that. And then you ask me 1 or 2. And then I say 1. So I'm still making the decision. And then when you tell me vanilla, I say either, okay, yeah, vanilla, let's go for it, or immediately have the reaction, nah, I don't really want vanilla, I want a strawberry. And then I go get the strawberry.
Okay.
So I'm making the decision, but you're assisting me in making the decision. And then if the one that I've chosen randomly is not the one that I actually want, then my knee-jerk reaction will be like, nope, I didn't actually want that. Nope, let's go with the other one.
Okay.
You kind of build a little bit of accountability because me and you have now decided that number 1 is what we're going to choose, but then like it's a hard stop because, oh, no, I don't actually want it. Or you do, it's easy, it's simple, and we've both decided, I've decided, and you're holding me accountable, that's what I'm getting. Okay. And that works so well.
I like that.
So well.
I like that because then the person that's deciding, I mean, just not to reiterate too much of what you said, but I like that because if there's a moment where they, are like, oh, wait, I actually didn't want that, then they're going to make that known immediately, right? And then that's when you reverse course and you can say, okay, so now we're going to get this. And this is, but then I think there needs to be a point where like you shut it down.
Has to be a line.
It's like, okay, like you said no to this, so we're going to get this and let's move on. Right? Like, and then don't mention this again, right?
Yeah. It is 100% up to the other person that's assigning the 1 and 2 values to be like, all right, you said 1, and then go get item number 1 and put it in the cart and get the hell out the store. Yeah. And then while you're getting it, if that person says, oh, no, actually, you have a few seconds to switch it, and then we're rolling. Yeah. We're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I think people people definitely experience a lot, which I mentioned earlier, is like deciding restaurants, right? Especially like new restaurants. I think that it's tough. But I think that in order just to get over, sometimes I think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So think about this. Sorry, I'm going in a lot of different directions. But imagine we're on because me and you've like met up with friends sometimes, and then we just go to bars. Like we're walking around different bars. We're out, right?
Yeah.
People like to do extensive research. People like to, look, and it's like, okay, am I gonna if we need to decide on the next bar to go, and I'm not very familiar with the area, am I gonna sit on my phone for the next 10 minutes and look at different places? And I think what happens is when you are the person that is making the decision, sometimes there's pressure to say like, oh, this better be the right decision. Or if we go to the next bar and it sucks, it's your fault, right?
Yeah.
But then I think what I've been doing, that which you've been around when I've said this, is that I let people know that I have no idea and I'm literally just going for it. And I tell people like we're rolling the dice. That's it.
Yeah.
I just tell them like, hey, we're gonna go here. I've never been there. I don't know. It's right here. This is what I see. Okay, we're rolling the dice. And let's
5 stars?
Yeah, or not. 3 stars. Who knows? Yeah. Let's just go.
It's close.
Right? Exactly.
What's the hurt?
Exactly. And then I think especially when things like that, where you might have pressure and the decision really, and if you think about that, okay, the next bar, if it's a dud, it's like, okay, is that really going to be impacting the rest of your life? I mean, probably not.
2 more blocks.
Yeah.
We're good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think if you kind of release that pressure by just letting people know that like, hey, like, I'm rolling the dice, let's see what happens, then that gives people that impression. It's like, okay, like our expectations. Now you've kind of thrown the expectations out of the window. Now people aren't like, oh my God, like, because if you're like, oh yeah, guys, I know this cool bar, like this place looks really cool. Now you're saying like, oh yeah, this bar, it says 5 stars, like we should go here. Now everyone's like, oh, 5-star bar, like we're gonna go somewhere great. Right? Whereas if you say, hey guys, I have no idea, this looks like it's right here, let's roll the dice and see what happens.
Might be legit.
Yeah, and then they're like, okay, well let's, you almost manage the expectations of the people around you to come in with an open mind. And I think that's very important. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, you definitely want to manage the expectations, especially when you don't know yourself. And when you vouch for a restaurant or a place like that, it's very important that, like, at least to me, and I'm sure to you as well, that like, oh man, yeah, I've been to this place. The place is stellar. When I drop a recommendation, it's like, I know
I like
it's great.
going there. Yeah, and
yeah, I like it, and I think you'll like it. So let's do it. But when like you're just cruising and you've got time to cruise, then it's just all right. Yeah, let's go check it out. Might be cool.
Might not be.
If it's
Who knows?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Now we know. Stay away. And that's cool. I mean, when you have the time, though, that's the thing. Sometimes you're in a time crunch and you have to, like, bars are closing, or we only want to check out one more spot, let's just hit one more spot real quick and we'll feel it out. Or you just don't, But if the pressure's on, you gotta make a decision. You just gotta go for it.
Yeah.
Just gotta go
and
for
even
it.
if you're on a date, man, just tell them, like, if you feel pressure and you really are unsure, like you manage as long as you manage expectations, like everything's going to be fine. If you manage the expectations of your group, like, and you keep them low, like everything's going to be, anything above, like, people doing heroin in the bathroom is going to be great. Right. So like, yeah, man, keep everyone's expectations low. And then ultimately, like, moral of the story, like put your effort towards decisions that matter. Like, that's the moral of the story.
Cut the bullshit, cut the fat, and get it done.
That's right. Make decisions, people. Make decisions. All right. We are giving you the power to make decisions. And if you give someone the power to make a decision, don't be an asshole. Say that they did great. All right.
Get it done. Get it done. I've had a mantra that I've been like kind of just reiterating to myself oddly recently. It's been shoot, what was it? Now I've forgotten it, of course. But basically the gist of it is, let's do it. Yeah. Let's get it done. Whatever it is, just do it. Send it. Yeah, basically send it. It's basically send it in a nicer, little more fluffy way.
To shift the conversation, there's 2 things actually. So the first one was Hurricane Irma, or Ura. I think it's Irma or Irma or something like that. But it's this hurricane that's currently going up the Gulf Coast and is right now hitting Louisiana, Category 4.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. So shout out to anyone in Louisiana. I hope everyone's safe. I mean, we've gotten really not a lot of hurricanes, I'd say.
Yeah, no, we've actually done pretty good this season so far. I mean, they've been going around us basically, so we've been pretty lucky. We've been pretty lucky.
Make sure you keep that into account, and when you're getting your house together, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, shoot, if they decide to take my roof, that's okay, because I need a new one anyway, so. God, if you want to send it this way, I wouldn't be too upset.
Just hope your insurance, you get your insurance right, man. Get your insurance right.
Yep. I'll pay my deductible, and you guys should be able to take care of that, right? Yep. I'm not asking for it, I'm praying for it.
Hey. Awesome, man. Thanks for walking down the hallway with us. Chris, been a pleasure. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. Sunday fun day.
Sunday fun day.
What else you doing?
More work. I got the rest of this bathroom to plumb up, and for some reason there's been a shortage of PVC across like Lowe's and Home Depot. So
shortage of everything. Welcome to the COVID world.
The COVID world. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. It has been our pleasure to distribute
episode 8. We hope episode 8 is great.
Episode 8 is great. All right.
See ya.